Zelensky's been saying he has 9 brigades. He said, I got 9 brigades of equipment, but I only have 3 brigades of men. I think it was I got 9 brigades of men, but I only have 3 brigades of equipment or something of that nature. Whatever, but he said that's going to be used for this counteroffensive, this offensive they launched. And the Ukrainian army, the guys on the front lines are like, hey, those 20,000 guys with all the new toys, all the M1 tanks. How many M1 tanks have been blown up in Kursk right now? A whole bunch. How many Leopard tanks? A whole bunch. How many Bradleys? A whole bunch. How many Strikers? A whole bunch. How many Martyrs? This is all brand new Western equipment. It's all being blown up in Kursk instead of being brought down to stabilize the front lines in the Donbass. And so while we're all talking about Kursk, the Russians keep it out. Some people say that Kursk was designed to get the Russians to take the troops that were on the offensive in that area and bring them up, and thereby buy the forces their time. That didn't work.
Welcome back to our channel. Today, Scott Ritter brings us a comprehensive analysis of the unfolding events on the Eastern Front. The battle for Kursk has now entered its 8th day, a day that will likely be remembered as a pivotal moment in this ongoing conflict. What has Ukraine truly achieved? More importantly, what has been lost in this relentless campaign? Today, we dive deep into the harsh realities of war, examining the mounting toll on Ukrainian forces as Russia steadily gains the upper hand with precision and power. As Inspector Scott Ritter has pointed out, the Kursk campaign, now in its 8th day, has seen an extraordinary shift in momentum. In the early days, Ukraine surged forward, capturing critical ground with an almost reckless speed. The first 3 days of the campaign saw Ukrainian forces nearly dominate the battlefield, achieving near total control over key areas. The speed and intensity of their advance were unmatched, leaving Russian defenses seemingly overwhelmed and scrambling to respond. But as the 4th day dawned, the tide began to turn. Russia, known for its ability to rapidly regroup and reinforce, began to mount a formidable counteroffensive. Reinforcements flooded in from all directions: elite airborne units, Spetsnaz operatives, and the feared Wagner Group. These units quickly fortified their positions, establishing choke points and launching a series of devastating artillery barrages that halted Ukraine's advance in its tracks. By the 7th day, the momentum had shifted dramatically. The battlefield was balanced on a knife's edge, with neither side holding a decisive advantage. But today, as the 8th day draws to a close, it's clear that Russia has begun to assert its dominance. The sheer intensity and coordination of their counterattacks, combined with the mounting losses on the Ukrainian side, have tipped the scales in Russia's favor. As the dust settles on this grueling day, the question that looms over the battlefield is this: how much more can Ukraine endure? The gains of the first few days now seem like distant memories, overshadowed by the grim reality of a campaign that has turned into a war of attrition, one that Ukraine may not be prepared to sustain. As we turn our gaze to the southeastern front, we see another critical development that could further solidify Russia's strategic advantage. In the southeastern sector of Kursk, Ukrainian forces initially celebrated what appeared to be a significant victory, the capture of a small, yet strategically placed village. However, as Scott Ritter has observed, in the grand scheme of this campaign, such a gain is but a fleeting moment of success, quickly overshadowed by the broader realities of the battlefield. The village was secured, yes, but the victory came at a tremendous cost. Ukrainian forces, overstretched and exhausted from days of relentless combat, faced brutal resistance from Russian defenders. The cost of this advance was high, with significant casualties and the depletion of critical resources. Moreover, the strategic value of this village is questionable. At best, it offers little in the way of defensible positions, and its capture has done little to alter the overall balance of power in the region. As the 7th day of the campaign came to an end, the balance of power in this region began to shift once more. Russian reinforcements continued to arrive, and their counteroffensive gained momentum. The village, which had seemed like a beacon of Ukrainian success, now stands as a stark reminder of the temporary nature of such gains in the face of a determined and well-coordinated adversary. By the close of the 8th day, the situation in the southeastern front had become untenable for Ukraine. The village, once a symbol of progress, now represents the harsh reality of a campaign where every gain is met with even greater losses. The question that remains is not if Ukraine will lose this ground, but when and at what further cost. As we leave the southeastern front behind, our attention now turns to Avdiivka, where the intensity of the battle has reached new and alarming heights. Inspector Scott Ritter's keen observations are particularly relevant as we shift focus to Avdiivka, a once nearly impenetrable fortress of Ukrainian defense. This region has now become the site of one of Russia's most significant breakthroughs in this campaign. Yesterday, the capture of Zelan marked a turning point, a victory that has sent shockwaves through the Ukrainian defense network. The fall of Zelan was not just a tactical victory, it was a strategic masterstroke. This town, long considered vital for controlling the surrounding region, now serves as a gateway for Russian forces to push further into Ukrainian-held territory. The implications are profound. With Zelan under Russian control, the path is now clear for an advance towards key Ukrainian strongholds such as Mezhov, Kamyshivka, and Novozhelan. These areas are critical not just for their strategic location, but for the morale of Ukrainian forces already battered and bruised from the relentless Russian assault. The strategic value of these areas cannot be overstated. Control over these regions would allow Russia to secure vital supply lines and create a contiguous front, enabling further advances into Ukrainian territory. As Russian forces solidify their hold on Zelan, the Ukrainian defenders in the surrounding areas face a grim reality. Reinforcements are sparse, supplies are dwindling, and the morale is faltering. The fall of Zelan is just the beginning. What comes next could very well decide the fate of this entire front. As Russia continues to press its advantage, the situation for Ukraine and Avdiivka becomes increasingly dire. The question is no longer about holding the line, but about survival. And as Russia prepares to expand its offensive, the outcome in Avdiivka may well determine the next phase of this conflict. With Avdiivka teetering on the brink, let's shift our focus to Hrdivka, where Russian forces have achieved another devastating breakthrough. As Scott Ritter highlighted in his recent analysis, Hrdivka, a town once thought to be among the most secure of Ukrainian strongholds, has now become the site of a significant Russian advance. In just 24 hours, Russian forces have pushed over a kilometer into the town, capturing nearly a third of it with a speed and ferocity that has left Ukrainian defenders reeling. This advance is not just a tactical victory, it is a strategic disaster for Ukraine. Hrdivka was one of the most heavily fortified positions in the region, a so-called super fortress designed to withstand even the most determined assaults. Yet, in a matter of hours, Russian forces have breached these defenses, capturing key locations and forcing Ukrainian troops into a desperate retreat. The rapid collapse of Hrdivka's defenses is a testament to Russia's overwhelming firepower and the meticulous planning that has characterized their operations in this campaign. Hrdivka was more than just a defensive position, it was a symbol of Ukrainian resilience. Its fall sends a powerful message to both sides of this conflict. For Ukraine, it is a bitter reminder of the overwhelming odds they face. For Russia, it is a confirmation of their strategy's effectiveness, a strategy that combines relentless pressure with calculated strikes, slowly but surely eroding Ukraine's ability to resist. As Russian forces tighten their grip on Hrdivka, the implications for Ukraine are dire. The loss of such a critical stronghold not only weakens their defensive lines, but also opens the door for further Russian advances into the heart of Ukrainian-held territory. The days ahead will likely see more of these devastating blows as Russia continues to capitalize on its momentum. With Hrdivka now largely under Russian control, the focus shifts to Kostiantynivka, where Ukrainian forces are facing their most desperate hour yet. In Kostiantynivka, Inspector Scott Ritter's insights resonate as we observe a situation that has reached a critical point. Encircled on three sides, Ukrainian forces find themselves increasingly isolated, with Russian forces closing in. The once bustling city is now a battlefield, its streets echoing with the sounds of artillery and gunfire as Russian troops tighten the noose around the beleaguered defenders. The encirclement of Kostiantynivka is no accident. It is the result of a carefully executed plan by Russian commanders designed to isolate and destroy Ukrainian forces. With supply lines cut and reinforcements unable to break through, the defenders face an increasingly bleak situation. Russian artillery and airstrikes have devastated key defensive positions, leaving the Ukrainian forces with little choice but to dig in and prepare for the inevitable assault. The fall of Kostiantynivka would mark a significant turning point in this campaign. Not only would it be a major symbolic victory for Russia, but it would also have profound strategic implications. The city's fall would allow Russian forces to press deeper into Ukrainian territory, further eroding the already tenuous hold that Ukrainian forces have on this region. The psychological impact on Ukrainian troops already under immense pressure would be devastating. For the Ukrainian forces trapped in Kostyantynivka, the options are stark retreat, surrender, or face annihilation. The Russian advance shows no signs of slowing, and with each passing hour, the situation becomes more desperate. The days of Ukrainian control in this region are numbered, and with them, any hope of turning the tide in this brutal conflict. Across the broader Eastern Front, the situation continues to deteriorate for Ukrainian forces. From Lysychnyi to Ivanivka, from Kupiansk to Lyman, the pattern is unmistakable. Russia is advancing on all fronts, and Ukraine is being pushed back. As Inspector Scott Ritter predicted, the once solid defensive lines are crumbling under the relentless Russian assault, leaving Ukrainian forces scattered and struggling to regroup. Russian forces are now pushing deeper into Ukrainian-held territories, capturing key strongholds with a speed and efficiency that has caught many by surprise. The collapse of Ukrainian defenses is accelerating just as President Putin predicted. The Russian advance is outpacing Ukraine's ability to respond, creating a domino effect as one stronghold after another falls to the advancing Russian troops. The implications of these advances are profound. With each town and village that falls, Russia's grip on the region tightens, and Ukraine's ability to mount a meaningful defense diminishes. The human cost is staggering. Thousands of Ukrainian soldiers have been killed or wounded in these battles, and the losses continue to mount. Equipment, too, is being destroyed at an alarming rate, with Ukrainian forces finding it increasingly difficult to replace what has been lost. As the front lines continue to shift, the outlook for Ukraine grows increasingly grim. The loss of territory is significant, but the loss of life is even greater. Each day, the situation becomes more untenable for Ukrainian forces, who find themselves outnumbered, outgunned, and outmaneuvered. The days ahead will likely see further retreats and the fall of more strongholds as Russia continues its methodical advance. With the Eastern Front in disarray, the broader strategic implications of this campaign are becoming increasingly clear. As Inspector Scott Ritter astutely noted, the broader strategic implications of this campaign are becoming increasingly clear. Russia is not merely winning battles, it is systematically dismantling Ukraine's ability to wage war. The Ukrainian strategy, focused on capturing symbolic victories and holding on to territory at all costs, is proving to be a fatal mistake. For each village or town they take, the cost in lives and equipment is devastating, and the gains are often fleeting. Russia, on the other hand, is executing a strategy that is both methodical and ruthlessly efficient. Their focus is not on capturing territory for the sake of it, but on wearing down Ukrainian forces, destroying their ability to fight back, and ultimately breaking their will to resist. The so-called meat grinder strategy employed by Russia is proving to be devastatingly effective. Ukrainian forces are being ground down day by day, their numbers dwindling as the Russian advance continues unabated. For Ukraine, the losses are irreplaceable soldiers, equipment, and morale are being shattered daily. And for what? A few kilometers of territory that they cannot hope to hold. The West may continue to pump money and weapons into Ukraine, but it is becoming increasingly clear that this is a losing battle, a stark reality that even the most optimistic Western analysts are finding hard to ignore. As the campaign progresses, the message from Kursk is clear: Russia's strategy is working, and Ukraine is running out of time, resources, and options. The next few days and weeks will be critical in determining the outcome of this campaign, but one thing is certain: Russia's tactical superiority is on full display, and the consequences for Ukraine are dire. As we conclude this analysis, let us reflect on the broader consequences of this campaign and what it means for the future of this conflict. In conclusion, as Scott Ritter has consistently highlighted, the Kursk campaign is fast becoming a defining moment in this conflict. Despite their initial successes, Ukrainian forces now find themselves on the back foot, struggling to hold onto what little they have left. Russia, with its methodical and relentless approach, is proving to be an unstoppable force, slowly but surely grinding down its adversary. The battle for Kursk may still have days, if not weeks, to go, but the outcome seems increasingly inevitable. Russia will emerge victorious, and Ukraine will be left to pick up the pieces of a shattered campaign. As the world watches, the lessons from Kursk are clear. Russia's strategic patience, combined with its overwhelming firepower, is a force to be reckoned with. And for Ukraine, the price of this conflict continues to climb, with no end in sight. The days ahead will be critical, not just for the outcome of this campaign, but for the future of this conflict as a whole.